Well, hello there! In this video I will show you how I made my Nightsister energy bow, sometimes also called plasma bow, whatever. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I will try to answer them there. First, I sketched the bow using a reference picture from the Clone Wars and took all the measurements. I mostly size my props like this. I take a reference picture and then translate the measurements to my size, so the prop won't be too big or too small afterwards. These are all the materials I used to make the bow. My rotary tool, a screwdriver for a little more power, short bolts with nut, glue. I use contact cement and Instacure. The pink cord is my bowstring. It's called LED wire and has a battery holder attached. A door ledge, no idea if that's the right word. In German I would say Türleiste, black Worbla and EVA foam. Oh, and I forgot that I also used a piece of wood for the middle of the bow part, but yeah, it's not shown here. And of course, a box cutter, something to measure with, and pencils. I made a 1:1 size model also on paper to see if I got everything right and also to use it later to measure all the single pieces I will use to build the bow. I started by measuring out the door ledge that I want to use for the part of the bow's body that can be bent when I pull the bowstring. Then I cut 2 pieces to the correct length. Then I made 2 angles out of black Worbla. Those will connect the door ledge piece to the middle part of the bow's body. I connected the angles with the bolts and nut to the door ledge. I had to drill holes in the ledge for that. I used a metal drill and my screwdriver for that. I started with a very fine drill, and when I got through, I took a bigger one and drilled again until the bolt fit through the hole. This was quite a bit of work actually. As you can see, the other side of the Worbla angle got connected to my wooden middle bow part, also with little screws. Now the bow is bendable, but the middle is rigid, just like I wanted it to be. I also bent the side door ledge pieces in shape a bit. Now I tried to figure out where the battery holder should be and how I wanted the LED wire to wrap around. I didn't want to use 2 separate ones, so I decided to wrap the wire around the whole bow to get the wire everywhere I wanted without cutting it. I first used painter's tape to glue the wire to the bow to see if everything fit as I liked it to. I decided the battery pack has to go into the middle part of the bow. I attached the LED wire permanently with strips of black Worbla. Just cut a strip, heat it up with the heat gun for a few seconds, and then it's soft and can be bent in shape. At both ends of the bow, where the door ledge pieces end, I built 2 round-shaped Worbla pieces. I would wrap the LED wire around later, so that the wire won't have to go directly over the edge, because it's very sharp. I also thought it looked cool when the wire made small loops there. You can see here how I wrapped the wire around. Because the edge was still too edgy for the wire, I also made some small Worbla parts to guide the wire around the edge in a round way. Not very pretty at least now, but I promise it looks good in the end. All the wire wrapping and attaching with Worbla pieces took quite a long time, but somehow I made it and everything returned. Wait, that's not correct. At least not here. The energy bows the Nightsisters use in the Clone Wars have the arrow go through the main part of Bow's body in a round shape, so I measured where that should be and how big I needed the hole to be. I again drilled the hole with my screwdriver. I forgot to film that somehow, but the hole is there and I continued with the wire. You can see I wrapped the wire around the bow 1.5 times so that the end comes out at the freshly drilled hole. To stabilize the arrow part, I rolled up some Worbla transfer art into a straw-like shape and pushed the LED wire through. One of my better ideas during this build, I think. The Nightsister bows also have a handle part where you can pull the bowstring without having to touch the energy or plasma string. I made that one out of Worbla too. I made a paper pattern, cut out 2 Worbla pieces, shaped them using the heat gun, put the LED wire inside. Again, I made a round structure the LED wire could go around, so there wouldn't be too much strain on the wire when the bowstring is pulled. Then I decided I wanted to make half of the handle part out of foam, because I like the working with foam much more. I cut a larger piece out, glued it on with Instacure, and then started cutting down the excess foam. I glued on a second foam piece from the other side, because I didn't like the look of my Worbla piece at all. Oh, the struggle with Worbla I always have. I shaped the foam piece with a box cutter and also glued on the first decorative piece of foam on the pretty side. Then I started covering the whole body of the bow in foam. That was quite a process actually. I cut out the desired piece, glued it on with contact cement, wear a mask, really wear a mask here, contact cement is nasty stuff. Here you can also see I left a space to put the battery holder in. After the middle part was covered, I took a long rectangle of the thin EVA foam to cover the door ledges and also the bowstring on them. I glued them on as well and closed them on the inside. Same on the other side, and I also made a cover for the loose cable. Then I took the box cutter again to pre-shape the EVA pieces so that I would have less work with my rotary tool later. Then I decided I wanted to add the spiky things where the bow ends and the drawstrings begin. Some of the Nightsister bows have that, and I like the look of it. So I made the spiky things out of EVA foam again, glued them on and roughly shaped them. I also added some details to the main body of the bow with my box cutter. Then the sanding part began. I sanded everything with my rotary tool until it was smooth. Oh, and another thing I forgot to film, the circle-shaped piece of EVA foam I made where the arrow will go through the main body. Ah yeah, what can you do? At least I recorded several hours of sanding work, right? After the sanding was finished, I made the 2 pieces that some Nightsister bows have at the main body. Not sure what they are for, maybe more stability, I don't know. I made them out of EVA foam, sanded them and glued them on. Now the main work part is done. All the pieces that weren't smooth enough, I used Kwikseal on, now to make them even smoother. Please wear gloves when using Kwikseal. I didn't know for quite some time, but safety first, really. You just put on the Kwikseal paste or every other water smoothable putty and smooth it with a bit of water on your gloved fingers. Then let it dry for around a day. After it was dry, I primed the whole bow using Flexgrund from Foam Lord, a German cosplay material shop I really like. I really recommend them for my German cosplayers. They're amazing. During the priming process, I decided to add some more details on the side parts of the bow because I thought the bow needed a bit more Dathomir flair. The details are made out of EVA foam as well. After 3 layers of primer and drying in between, I started with a paint job. I first painted the whole bow in silver, using a mixture of white flexi paint and silver paint. I always do that for foam props because flexi paint will make all paints flexible and they won't rip when you bend them. After the silver paint was dry, I masked where I wanted to keep the light silver with painter's tape and painted the rest a darker silver using a mix of silver and black. I had to paint several layers here to make it opaque. After drying, I carefully removed the masking tape. Last step of painting was weathering and highlighting. I dry brushed all edges with black acrylic paint because I wanted my Nightsister bow to look used, like in the Clone Wars. I highlighted with silver paint to give the bow more prominent features. Now I assembled the bowstring again. Here you can see the straw or a tube I made out of clear Worbla. I slid the bowstring through the hole in the main body and then pushed it through the clear tube. I fixed the tube in the main part of the body with a small piece of Worbla. And now I have a pointy arrow. To protect my paint job and also make the flexi paint less sticky, I have an older bottle. The newer ones aren't sticky anymore, I've heard. I used clear anti-tag coat on the whole bow, minus the bowstring, of course. And with that, the bow was done. So much more work than I thought, but I really liked the outcome. And also the small details I added. What do you think? Do you like it? And this is how the bow looks in action with my Nightsister costume. As you can see, the LED wire is not really bright, but it's so cool in a darker photo studio. And now I will go hunt some Count Dooku. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments. As always, like and subscribe if you liked it, and if you want to see more, check out my Instagram, and if you want to support me, visit my Patreon for even more content and more work in progress posts. See you next time.